some books aren't just stories, okay? They are lives lived, lessons learned, legacies left behind, okay? And in today's video, I am going to be sharing 8 of these memoirs and autobiographies that are on my shelf. Now, some of these I have read, some I haven't read yet, some I halfway read and was like, I'll get back to it later, but we're going to get into it, and I'm going to highlight a few of points and give a brief overview of each. And with these memoirs and autobiographies, they will make you laugh, cry, and reflect, and sometimes all at the same time, okay? So let's get into it. All right, so y'all see my hair. I took it out the bow, and I'm like, we're just gonna wear it out today in the fro because it gotta be washed and all that. The shrinkage is real, but it's okay. It's okay. We're just gonna leave it out, let it flow, okay? Let it flow, let it go. All right, so let's jump into it. So the first book I have is I, Steve. This is a very short book. It's only about 100, of actual reading. I believe it's 125 pages. Yeah, it's about 125 pages, and this is really, it's not like a full memoir or autobiography. It's really just the quotes and sayings of Steve Jobs. So over 30 years or so, it's his statements he made, like public statements he made during interviews and media coverage. And one I wanted to highlight was he had made a statement, and it was at Stanford University in 2005. He was doing a commencement address, and in this one he said, "Your time is limited." I love this because it's very profound. Stay tuned, okay? Have your ears in your notes. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown your own voice. Drown out your own voice, right? And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition, and I will add your mind, okay? Because your heart doesn't think, it pumps blood. I know we say follow your gut, follow your intuition, follow your mind, use what you learn, use your tools, okay? And then he closes it with, they somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary. I love that quote. That's on page 103 of this. And what I like about this, it reminds me, I don't know if you heard of Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey. It was edited by Amy J. Garvey. And it had a lot of the quotes or the thoughts and opinions of Marcus Garvey in different subjects that he was touching on. That's what this will remind you of. This is a pretty quick read. I haven't been able to read all of it yet, but I will go through it at some point. I like to just go in it and look up different topics because it has, the way it's done, you have like little topics and then the statement that he made and what it was about. Like this one's perseverance. The one I just read was to be or not to be, teamwork, all of that. So I like stuff like this because this really can be used as a reference in life. Whether you agree with that person or not agree, you cannot take away their accomplishments, what they achieved, the people that they were able to partner with, give ideas with, and ultimately able to build a business where they're able to employ people and pay people. And so that's their contribution to society. So that's why I like this. The next one is Ta-Nehisi Coates. So I always pronounce his name Ta-Nehisi, and then I looked it up and saw a couple interviews and they pronounced his name Ta-Nehisi while he was there. So that's this one. This is Ta-Nehisi Coates, The Beautiful Struggle. This was actually, if you saw my TBR for this month, for August, whenever you're watching this, August 2025, okay? This was on my TBR and I just read it a week ago. This, it wasn't a memoir that necessarily held my attention. I was like, oh, I have to read it. I get pulled in, or where you get pulled in and it keeps you like, oh, I want to finish it so fast. It is short. It's not a long one. It is about 223 pages or so. But in this one, you kind of get his life as he was living. He was raised in Baltimore. So he opens with the struggles of Baltimore, with the people out on the streets, with the behavior and the mindset of the people who he grew up around. And you also get an eye into how his dad raised him. And the dad was a trip, okay? He has brothers and sisters that's not from his mom, and some of them were born in a similar time range. It was crazy. But the dad was sort of an activist, if you will, in his own right. He was part of the Black Panther movement, and so he was a disciplinarian. So you get that journey with this. The way he writes, it just has to be something you're interested or in the mood for. If you are a mood reader, this is one where, sometime in the fall, winter, if you're interested in getting more into autobiographies and memoirs and things of that nature, or even biographies, you can pick this up. All right. The next one, No Disrespect. This is by Sister Soldier. This one, I had this on my shelf for years. I started reading it. I haven't read it all the way through because it's her life story. Now, let me read this to you. So, Sister Soldier, if you don't know who she is, she's a rapper, activist, and hip-hop rebel. Sister Soldier possesses the most passionate and articulate voice to emerge from the projects. Now she uses that unmistakable voice to deliver what is once a fiercely candid autobiography and a survival manual for any African American woman who wants to keep her heart open and her integrity intact in 1990s America. So she's touching on the 90s. Okay, so this is an old school one. So if you never heard of it, Barnes and Nobles did have a copy of this, but I believe I got this one from Second and Charles. Sister Soldier, she is very much so opinionated, if you will, which everyone has their opinions, and she's going to list those in this book. She's also going to cover parts of her life in this book, the struggles of being a woman, and specifically a Black woman from that perspective. She's also going to touch on, hey, if we're angry about other people treating us a certain way, we also have to be introspective and look at us as a group and how we treat each other, how we treat Black men, things of that nature. So she's going to touch on that. I may finish reading at some point because she's also going to also talk about different religions and who she ran into at that point. This next one is I Wonder As I Wander by Langston Hughes. And I haven't read this one. I actually want to put it on my fall TBR. So stay tuned for my TBR videos coming up because this will be on it at some point. I'm excited to read this. This is a little lengthy. It's past close to 400 pages. Not quite, but close to it. And it says, in I Wonder As I Wonder, Langston Hughes vividly recalls the most dramatic, intimate moments of his life in the turbulent 1930s. Okay, so he's touching on the 30s here. His wanderlust leads him to Cuba, if you will, okay, which we call Cuba, Haiti, which is also pronounced Haiti by those that live there, Russia, Soviet Central Asia, Japan, and Spain during its civil war, and through dictatorships, wars, and revolutions. He meets and brings to life the famous and the humble, from author Koestler to Emma, the Black Mammy of Moscow. It is the continuously amusing, wise revelation of an American writer's journeying around the often strange and always exciting world he loves. Now, this is his second autobiography, which I didn't realize because I haven't picked up any of his autobiographies. I know about his poetry, and one of my favorite poems by him is I Too Am America. And if you haven't seen that video, go back videos away. About a couple months ago, I did a video reciting some of the poems that I love by Langston, Hughes, Maya Angelou, Nikki Giovanni. And I love to do that. It's not a high viewership video, but if you love to hear people recite poems, I also recited my own poems in another video. Go back and find it. Okay. My favorite poets. All right. So, yeah. So in the introduction, it does highlight that he said in that first stint, Hughes wrote 30 pages. When he started to write this, he was talking to a friend, and he said, I hope it reads, he wrote a friend about the new book, as easily as it writes. At that point, he had in mind a manuscript of no more than 300 pages. And so I'm excited to read and get into this and learn even more about him and his viewpoint. The next one is The Memphis Diary of Ida B. Wells. Ida B. Wells was also an activist. She was a civil rights crusader and anti-lynching crusader as well. Now this is her diary. So this was edited by Miriam DaCosta Willis. And I actually started reading this a few years ago, and I read part one. There's actually like 3 parts. Yeah, there's 3 parts to this. And I read part 1, and in that diary, she's kind of notating or logging her journey as a teacher, trying to find work, trying to pay rent. And rent was like $10 back then, you know, but they were getting paid like cents or dollars at a time. And so paying $10 rent was like a struggle. But oh my gosh, Ida, if you enjoy learning about Fannie Lou Hamer, all of the activists back in that time, which wasn't that long ago, then you would love this diary. She is a very blunt, straightforward person, and I love her for that. And we need to keep her in mind as well when we're talking about activism. Now this next one is an indie author. This is Handle It. This is an autobiography by Joyce Harriet. The interesting thing about Joyce, I actually got this autobiography because she was in Alabama at the same time I was. She's from New York as well, but she's like a transplant from out to Alabama, and she had a book signing at Second and Charles when I got this book a couple years ago, and she also signed it and gave me her number, but I haven't read it yet, but I do want to read it because I just had read over the introduction, and oh my gosh, like the things this lady been through. Like in the intro, she's talking about being born in Brookdale Hospital, which just so happened to be the same hospital I've been born, and it's almost deemed by a lot of people the worst hospital in Brooklyn, or one of the worst in New York. See, why the earring falling off? Listen. Okay, we're gonna put this back on. Okay, we're not gonna edit this out. If y'all watch me, those who watch me, who OGs here, y'all know. Okay, things happen, and we keep it going. But anyway, so the funny thing about Joyce is she's one of those where when she was being born, her mom had birthed her on the floor in the hospital, and her mom's called dirty, or her mom told her she was called a dirty baby because her mom wasn't shaved at the time she birthed her. It's crazy. And then they didn't actually know the flow of her name, so she goes by Joyce Harriet, but her mom calls her Harriet as well, and so it could have been Harriet Joyce, but she ended up just going by Joyce Harriet. And Harriet is a name passed down by, I believe, her grandmother. But the way it starts off like this is going to be a good read. Now, she is one where she talks about her liking females and then turning her life to Christ and going on a different path that way, and she was led to write this book. Okay, but it's always interesting to see people's journeys and their perspectives of how they see life and how they view themselves and how they work through those trials and tribulations. So if you're interested in indie authors as far as autobiographies or memoirs, you can check her out as well. Now, I featured this one before in another video earlier this year. This is Interiors, a Black Woman's Healing in Progress. This is by Iyanla Vanzant. This book is thick, but I'm telling you, this was a great read. I did not want to put it down. Like, this is one of the books that I want to continue to keep reading. It's over 400 pages, but Iyanla, her life, woo, mama beans, you are going to, she does not hold back. If you know Iyanla, she speaks straight up. She does not play, and she is very candid about her life and what went on about her life, but she shows how you can walk through that journey, how you can still control your narrative no matter what you've been through, and don't let anyone hold it against you, but you use that to uplift others and contribute positively to society. One of the things I wanted to highlight is on page 400. She has a chapter, it's chapter 26, called An Exhibit of Peace. And I want to read this especially for the ladies. Now, men, you can read this too. If you're a guy watching this, you can read this too. But my ladies, she says, a female child needs a mother. She needs a mother to teach her about the intricacies of womanhood. That mother must be a friend, a confidant, a disciplinarian, and a role model. She must nurture, teach, support, push, hold back, and know when to let go. I never had a mother. I tried to make Net my mother. She had most of the qualifications, but in the crunch, she simply did not make the grade. The mother is the lifeline of the female. The mother's energy determines how the female child develops, how she looks at herself, and what she will do with her own children. You cannot replace a mother. Woo, and that's heavy. And she's telling you that from the standpoint that she did not have, unfortunately, her birth mother. She was one who went through issues with the dad, with the uncle, because she was staying with the aunt, I believe, and but the aunt didn't so take that replacement as a mother, and it's heavy. It's a heavy read. But it's a must read. I would say if you haven't read this, please go check it out on Amazon. I believe you should be able to find it on Amazon, but this was such a good read. And lastly, this is a popular one. This came out this year. This is Miss Tina Knowles' Matriarch, a memoir. This memoir, this was a pretty good memoir. I love that she opened up and she also held back. You can tell, like, okay, I'm gonna let you know some things, give you some insider information, but you don't need to know all my business. I could keep some stuff to myself, okay? I'm gonna give you a little scoop and you're gonna eat that, okay? You're gonna enjoy that ice cream scoop, okay? But I love this one because Tina talks about her family tree. She talks about her background on her mother, her parents being from Louisiana, being Creole, and what that was like. And I love that since she was a child, she takes ownership of her life, she takes control, and she holds no cut cards either. She does touch on a little bit about both Solange and Beyonce, and also Kelly, because Kelly's like another daughter to her, and she has several pictures in here, and I love when they give images. And this is a great way to document your life, even if you aren't as well known yet as Miss Tina and her children and her husband. It's like, no, document your life in some way, and doing videos like these are a way to document, because no one can speak for you. They can say, you can say, she had her own videos, he had his own videos, and he told you what his views were, he told you what he was trying to contribute to society, he told you. You can see what his hobbies and passions, or her hobbies and passions, are. And so that's why I do love writing. And at some point I may end up doing autobiography or full memoir autobiography. I have written a poetry book called Words of a Shattered Mind. I did a video reciting some of my poetry, so go back a few videos, you'll see a video of me reciting a few of my poems. And yeah, so that's all I have for you today. Let me know in the comments in the chat if you have read any of these, if you want to read any of these, or your best memoirs and autobiographies that you haven't or have read that's on your shelf. All right. And until next time, in between time, always remember to keep rising.
I'm telling you that there ain't no other way. Pack your bags and then you will go away. I'm not gonna